it's the time check, 26th of June, 2007 at 9:30. I'm in East Grinstead in a bed and breakfast. I've just left my wife. Been a very long day. We came here by train from London to East Grinstead. Time did really. Train was a bit late. Left at 10. Got here at East Grinstead about 12 something. Checked into here. Very nice man here. Then we went to the hospital. Obviously, we were going through different tests, ECGs, meeting the clinic who are going to perform the operation. I can tell you a little bit more about it now. Apparently, it's up here somewhere. The white of the eye here, up the top around here somewhere. The white of the eye, the back. Then a cut, a slit in there that way, diagonal. So they have room just in case they need to do any other operations or an enamoured valve. It's a tracheotomy or something similar to that wording. A lot of things that happened, so I might put this in different parts as I remember them, because I might forget some of the bits. I'm trying to remember in chronological order, because that does make sense. When we got there, what did we do first? Anyway, let me get to this. I remember when we were in the clinic. Actually, there was once when I wrote a poem when my wife was in hospital before in the evening, where she was there for a couple of days, and I used some of the people, some of the things that happened to make up the poem, almost in diary fashion, but with a sort of fictional side to it, because obviously you see people and you hear things, and or at least I do. I think what might be going on in the mind, what the situation's really occurring. And that's what comes into the poems. Anyway, so there was this man as we were in the clinic, and he obviously had some kind of mental issue. I don't really know, but I'm saying this because to protect him for what he was doing. And he came in, and it's funny how you could tell that he had some kind of condition. The way his mouth circled slightly up, and his teeth, and he had a tooth missing and a tooth there. His eyes looked different, staring. And that reminded me of one of my poems, Jacob Jakes, where... Was it Jacob Jakes? I'm not sure. No, it was in The Dead City, where the zombies, at the end, is described that they are manifestations of the evil that they were, trying to suggest, in a way, that people's evils or evil intentions were visible by their face. And I just made that up, not thinking much of it. But then when I saw this man, I thought of that and thought, how that's strange how you can see him and he looks like he has some kind of problem. Anyway, he kept tapping his eye like that. I don't know if he was going blind or he obviously had a problem because he was in the eye clinic. Then he took his shirt off and he was getting really irate and he kept pushing his stomach. I'll just zoom out there. He kept pushing his stomach like this, kept pushing it in, and there was... it was like a caricature in a way. And there was this, I assume a nurse, I don't know what the relationship was. She was a black lady. I think she was looking after him. She could have been, I assume she's not a relative because he was white, but it's possible he could have been, or in-laws. But I'm assuming she's a nurse because of the attitude she took with him, and because he seemed like he was a patient from somewhere, although she wasn't wearing any kind of label, so she was some kind of help in some way. Anyway, I felt it amazes you what people will do. I was thinking about the nurse, that it's a very difficult and demanding job looking after someone all the time. That takes some kind of skill, and often you see these nurses and people in hospitals, you see, where they get irate. And you think, oh, that's bad, how can they be like that? And I thought it in one of my poems, I think I mentioned it, when I was at Ealing, how can they be so gruff sometimes? But then you've got to remember, they're dealing with this day in and day out, every single day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Unlike us, we go in hospital, and then we come out, and then we only go back in when another thing occurs. Whereas they go in day out, see people die, see people suffering, and it must make them slightly harder. Maybe they have to be like that. I know there's this whole ethics that doctors aren't allowed to feel for their patients. They have to be cold to detach themselves to be able to do it. I don't know if that's true or not. That seems a bit inhumane, but I can see the logic a little bit more. Anyway, so that was a bit sort of frightening, a little bit. Then the next bit was when we saw a specialist. I obviously have to go through a consent form. And that's where it got a bit worrying, because he obviously had to, by law, mention all the complications that can take place. And whereas before he mentioned, I remembered what that thing was, the grey thing is cataract. He mentioned that before, and he mentioned graft rejection, which are the only two things we thought were the complications. But he went through a whole list of these things, which, frightened my wife and me, obviously. Things like you can get hemorrhaging, bleeding from the eye. You can get fluid can start running out. You can get high pressure, low pressure. And remember, they're trying to correct high pressure, but they can make it too high, too low, depending how much they take out. Graft rejection, graft failure, which means that it will fail and they have to do it all again. And then the worst thing was that it's possible that she could lose her vision and her sight. I can't remember what that was to do with. That might be to do with that they're putting a chemical that's used in cancer patients. I think it starts with them. Anyway, so that's why I was a bit quiet. So, the problem is that can kill off the cells in the eyes. But these things are all, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 4, but you never know when your number's going to come up. So, when they were saying that, it was extremely worrying time. She's had eye operation before, obviously she had the original rejection, she had a squint as well, and she's had 8 operations already. So she's used to it, but they have to take all these complications, but it's the most worrying bit. Because you never know what's going to happen, how it's going to turn out. What complications will affect you might not affect another person. So you don't know, you're putting your hands, like I said before, into strangers and into trust. So that was the most worrying part of it, and she was, I could see she was moved, but... Anyway, so also with the... I just remember another bit, it's going to be her eye will be tender because of the stuff they're putting in and the stuff they're doing for a week, so she can't bend or anything like that, so just be very careful with that eye. All I can think of now is her. I mean, I know I'm on my own, but she's on her own. She's with strangers, and she has to have an operation. I don't know. It's very difficult to think of someone when you know that someone you love is going through something that they have no choice of. They have to go through it, because if they don't, then the consequences are worse than taking a risk. She's extremely brave, extremely, very strong, and I think that's part to do with her faith in Allah. That's all I can think of now. Anyway, I probably will come back with some more when I remember the rest of it. It's been a very long day, so that'd be it for now. Okay, I'm signing off.